Shust. I'm an accessibility specialist and an instructional designer. In this ATD Toolbox tip, I'm going to teach you how to use Google Slides to create a Jeopardy template. I really like to use Jeopardy for recall and recognition activities, and it doesn't matter if it's C-suite or new members of a team, Jeopardy is a nice way to gamify learning. There are 3 reasons why I like to make my own template. 1, there's no paywall, no account for a special tool that's needed. Most people have access to Google Slides or a Google account. So if you can make it in that ecosystem, chances are it's also easier to share it with other people so that they can look back at the game and recall some of the questions and concepts from the activity. And then the second reason why I like to use it is that it's super customizable. You can use your own branding, you can use your own colors, you can make it feel more engaging by adding images, and of course accessible features. So let's go ahead and dig right in. By nature, a template is replicable, meaning that you can use the same template over and over again, making little adjustments based on whatever content you're trying to present. So to make this as easy to use as possible and limit the number of types of slides we have, we're going to work primarily in the theme builder. To access the theme builder, select View, and from the drop-down, find Theme Builder. By default, a slide deck will come with many different types of slides. For the sake of this Jeopardy template, you will only need 2 types of slides, one for a heading and then one blank slide that you'll use for both the game board and the different questions and their answers. So you can go ahead and delete any of the extra slides you feel like you don't need. Also take this opportunity to adjust the typography as needed to meet your branding needs. Now let's go ahead and set up our 2 types of slides. The first slide will be our heading slide, or what the learner sees when I first open the deck. I'm going to add some branding to this to just make it look a little bit more like a game show. You can obviously add whatever colors and backgrounds you need, but do make sure that the color contrast is sufficient so that everybody can see the content on the screen. You can do that by using a color contrast checker. Simply go into Google or your favorite search engine and search color contrast checker, and there's plenty out there. Find whichever one works best for you. To set up your title slide, all you need is a text box or 2. One primary text box for the Jeopardy heading, and then another one for a subtitle that perhaps indicates what type of game you're playing or what the topic is. For the blank slide, do not add any elements. You'll find out why later. When you're done adjusting these 2 types of slides, go ahead and exit the theme builder and move on to the normal slides. I'll start by setting up my title slide. I'll keep it fairly simple since this is just a template, but you can see where I'm going with the style. I want it to feel very much like a game show with bright lights and some neon colors. The slide directly after the title slide should be your game board. The game board contains all the buttons you need to navigate the game. Now, depending on the topic you're choosing, you may have anywhere from 3 to, let's say, 6 categories. You can organize the buttons to be different sizes, but do make sure that they are generally accessible and the same size throughout. It makes the board look a lot cleaner and easier to navigate. For each category or topic, you're going to need a header shape as well as the 5 buttons that correspond with each point level, 100 to 500. As you set this up, I highly recommend starting with just one topic or category and then copying over once you're happy with the structure of it. If you're like me and a bit of a perfectionist, you want everything to line up perfectly and be the same exact width. So be sure to set this up so that all you have to do is copy over each topic or category the number of times based on the topics that you have. So for this example, I have 5 categories. So I'm going to copy this over 5 times and then reorganize so that everything is nice and structured and symmetrical. Optionally, you can also change the color of each category so that they are different from each other, which acts as another way to identify each category. Keep in mind, it's best to have the font size be large enough for everybody in the room, but there may be some instances in which someone has a visual impairment, thus making it more difficult to see from far away. In such case, the colors are nice so that people can say, I would like yellow for 500 if they cannot see the category. General best practice is to use a font size minimum of 18 point so that everyone in the room can see it. Now it's time to set up your first question slide. Choose the blank slide from the template that you created, and then add some sort of an identification of exactly which category and point value this slide corresponds with. For the question itself, Add a large shape with a light background, as a light background and dark text tends to be easier for most audiences to read, and enter in your question text, or add boilerplate text for the time being. You'll want to make sure this text is large enough for everyone in the room to read, so again, keep a point size of about 18-point font. The last element you'll need to add to a question slide is a back to board button. This makes it far easier to turn back to the game board rather than having to click through all the various slides to return back. To do this, select the shape, then the link button from the toolbar. Select the slide that corresponds with the actual game board itself, in this case, slide 2. Now it's time to set up the answer text. All you have to do is copy over the question shape and its text, and then hide that behind the question text using layers. You use animations to reveal the answer upon clicking to the next slide. To set up the animation to force the question to disappear and the answer to be shown, select the question element. Then select animation, and from the drop-down, select disappear. That means that when you progress to the next slide or select the next arrow on your keyboard, the question will disappear and the answer will be shown. After creating your first question slide, please be sure to test it to make sure that it's navigating correctly. So use the presentation button to pull up what it would look like in a real audience if it were being presented live, and then use the arrow button to move to the next slide. It should start by seeing the question and then progress to the answer, and then test to make sure that the back to board button still works. Once you've confirmed that the question and answer slide is set up correctly, now it's a fun game of copy and paste. You'll copy and paste one question and answer slide for every single point value on the board. So if you have 5 point categories, 100 to 500, and 5 categories, you will end up with 25 additional slides. Now's a good time to throw in some music and copy and paste to your heart's content. Do be sure to go through and update each category and point value so that you don't end up with any duplicate slides. Now that you have one slide for every single point value on the game board, it's time to start linking away. You're going to select the shape for each one of the point values and select the link button. Then choose the slide that corresponds with that specific value and the question. Now, it's very important that you pay close attention to exactly which slide number associates with which button. Otherwise, you may end up selecting, let's say, category 3 for 300 and accidentally going to category 3 for 500. So be sure to go back and triple check exactly which slide you are linking to each time. Thankfully, the way that we set up this template makes it very easy to know which slide to link to. They'll just simply go in numerical order. So by going down each row and across to each category, it should increase in slide value. For category 1, 100 points, it should be slide 3. Category 1, 200 points should be slide 4, and so on and so forth. Optionally, add double Jeopardy or a final Jeopardy question to stay true to how this game is played. For double Jeopardy, I recommend just adding a heading to the question that you'd like to be labeled as double Jeopardy. For Final Jeopardy, add another button to the game board so that at the end of the game you can select it, have the final question display, and invite teams to wager points. And there you have it. You created a Jeopardy board template that you can use over and over again for loads of different topics and diverse audiences. You can also send it out to your learners so that they can review it or play by themselves. I hope you found this toolbox tip useful, and I hope to see you in the next one.